Welcome into October, and we are in the meat of conference play. This is Six Rotations. He is the multi-time national champion head coach, Mick, and I'm Daniel Gilman. We'll talk about the new AVCA Terraflex coaches poll. Meanwhile, the AVCA has also made additions. 17 players have been added to the Player of the Year watch list. We've got our Six Rotations Team of the Week and a winner, as always, chosen at the end. And once again, brought to you by SNA Sports, better equipment for a better game, Ren Athletics as well. And Mick, Nebraska and Texas, we are a broken record. I love seeing the discourse online. People are frustrated. Who's better? The RPI has come out and Texas is number one, but the AVCA poll continues to give it to Nebraska. Husker fans in the comments, Texas fans, it is so fun. I'm loving it. So continue to bring us the drama every week because if not for the fuel, what else would we have to look forward to on a Monday? But Mick, again, another week of college volleyball. What did you learn?
Well, I learned a couple things. That old adage that serving errors never hurt you is just a bunch of bunk in certain situations. So I learned that. I learned that you can still compete and fight and do everything you can and win a match, even though you're having trouble scoring. I learned that this week. I also learned that you can't get ahead 2-0 and relax
Yeah.
because you're bound to have a reverse sweep. So quite a few lessons this week for sure.
It was a reverse sweep kind of weekend. Five different ranked teams lost to unranked teams. We've got a new two teams entering the top 25 for the first time in over a decade. So let's go ahead and show you the new top 10. And while not too much has changed, SMU has entered the fold from 11 to 10. Minnesota has dropped out of the top 10 as they lost to Michigan. But Mick, aside from a couple lopsided results from our really top teams. Nebraska absolutely obliterated Penn State. And per the sports information for the Huskers, Penn State, their negative 114 hitting percentage is the second lowest by a Nebraska opponent in the history of the rally scoring era, going back over 25 years. It was as ugly as it gets. And then you saw 8,000 come out to Nebraska and against Rutgers, setting a new state record in New Jersey as Texas swept Georgia and Mississippi State. But let's keep it with Nebraska. Again, the Huskers dominate. I mean, we knew it was going to be lopsided, but maybe Penn State gets one set or maybe they keep one set close. But no, I mean, Nebraska able to rest their starters this deep into the season is an impressive feat.
Yeah, and I think playing against Penn State now is just stopping Martin, and that's the whole thing because they can't seem to generate any offense anywhere else, and with big numbers, and so the whole thing's loaded. Penn State's just going to have to figure out and battle and fight for every point they get this season. But Nebraska absolutely is good. Like I said last week. If they'd have played a higher level of first 4 week competition, they'd probably be number one in our book too. But I think Texas has earned that number one spot right now until it gets down to playing for a tournament bid, you know?
Yeah, speak for yourself. I put Nebraska as my number one in this week's of 900 square foot media poll. And maybe Lee will find a way to shorten that title for that. But that's the name. I think that's the name of it. In fact, let me make sure that I've got that exactly. Yep, 900 square feet, not square foot. The name of the media poll. So that'll come out later. Unfortunately, we record before that media poll completely comes out. But Mick and I can always give you a sense of what we have. And what I have, Mick, is Louisville firmly into that top five, really testing. I have Pitt at three. The coaches have Kentucky at three. Now, Kentucky swept Mississippi. Pitt will have a real test this week as they'll take on Miami and Florida State. But we talk about Louisville. They swept Cal and then a mini reverse sweep. They dropped the first set at Stanford. They win the fourth set in extra points and take it on ESPN on Sunday and jump into the top five. Is Louisville a team in your eyes that could host a regional?
No, I don't think so. But kudos to the way they fought this weekend. Kudos to not ever giving up. Kudos to just keeping the energy in that facility going because the Stanford fans weren't. I'll tell you that. And I think that is a well competed win for Louisville, and I think their number five ranking is pretty good right now. I think they're five or six, and if they can keep getting better in terminating, I just think both left sides did a good job last night hitting some sets that were pretty difficult. And Stanford is interesting. They moved themselves back. They changed setters. They changed left sides. They did some really interesting things. So we got a lot of things to watch yet here with this group.
We do, and I say it every year. Stanford, by far the worst environment of any top program in volleyball. Maples Pavilion does not deserve to be hosting big matches in December, and so I'm not too upset to see them drop out of the top four. Obviously, they moved to six. But Mick, we've got a big week coming up. I talked about Pitt's two matchups against Miami and Florida State. The Panthers rode that Babcock-Bayless combo to a four-set win over Georgia Tech this weekend. But coming up on Wednesday, Kentucky in that three spot, A&M in the nine spot, Wednesday night, Tennessee against Texas, Baylor, Arizona State. Wednesday should prime up to be a pretty fun night of volleyball.
Yeah, I think those matches are really competitive, and we want to tune into those matches because we've got some people that are hot on all of those teams to watch. And so this is getting into the dog days of the season where we have midterm tests, we have travel, we really can't see the end of the rope yet. And so for these teams to compete like this in October is pretty darn good.
Let's go ahead and show you guys the rest of the top 25 because I want to open it up to a little bit more discussion because Nebraska has the real tall test of Big Ten play thus far, and maybe the toughest test because Wisconsin could be without their All-American setter Charlie Furbringer for a while. She was seen leaving the match early in the first set with a shoulder injury on a joust that seemingly maybe dislocated something. Came back in a sling. You don't know who the second or third best teams in the Big Ten might be. So Purdue comes out, they rank 12, they reverse sweep UCLA, Mick. They sweep USC and they will match up with Nebraska on Sunday. Give me a bit of a teaser for that matchup because Purdue always seems to give Nebraska fits.
Yeah, they do, and they will for about 12 or 14 points, but Nebraska's too strong, and Purdue is now going to know what it's like to play the number one or number two team. It will be a hard-fought game. Dave Shondell's teams always compete hard, and it should be fun to watch, but I'm picking Nebraska 3-0 on this one.
And that'll be in Holloway Gym, not in Mackey. Advantage to Purdue in that tight little environment. Nebraska also has Washington on Friday. Meanwhile, Tennessee and Texas Wednesday. You see Tennessee sitting there in that 17 spot. And the Miami Hurricanes continue to defy expectations. They are now in the top 10 of the RPI, Mick. I've got them in the top 15 of my media poll. Indiana as well. Welcome them into the top 25. Miami will take on Pittsburgh this weekend. Indiana 4-0 for the first time since 1985, their highest ranking in program history in the 20 spot, and their first time being ranked in 15 years. What Indiana did this weekend was quite impressive as they went out and really took care of business at USC, at UCLA, winning both in four.
Yeah, a much better fundamental team. They don't give away as many points. They stay focused. They compete throughout the whole match. They really had a nice West Coast tour out there, taking both UCLA and USC down on the road. I think that team can do some damage in the top 16.
What else? What else, Mick? A couple more notable stats for you. Colorado, they are undefeated. First time being ranked since 2011. One of those incredible reverse sweeps at the hands of Berlitovich, who had 32 kills, 41 points for Anna Barilovic in the reverse sweep for Colorado against UCF. So I'm happy to see them get a little bit of respect as Missouri and BYU trending down. Missouri was reverse swept by Oklahoma and Alexis Shelton with a superb performance and 30 points in that win. BYU upset by West Virginia, Mick. It is West Virginia's first ever home ranked win. So credit to them in 5 sets on Friday. But I think we got to talk about the Big 12. in deeper because the Big 12 every year, Mick, they eat each other, right? Kansas beats Baylor and TCU beats Kansas, and it's another weekend where we're not quite sure, is it Arizona State or is it Baylor or is it TCU or is it Kansas? Talk to me about the Big 12.
Well, for most part, the Big 12 is just like you said, and Kansas State's coming on. How about Oklahoma reverse sweep coming back also with Missouri, I believe. And
They are in
so,
the SEC now, so I'll step on
oh,
that one real
sorry
quick.
about that, but
No, it's not your fault.
yeah, my background
And
dates me here, but I think that at the top end of the Big 12 is going to be a real battle. Kansas is starting to get just inch by inch better. TCU's young players are stepping up even more. Um, Arizona State, we haven't been able to see them, but Glover's back at 100%, and they've got their Terminator. So BYU losing to the Greenies, the Greenies moved from Washington State to West Virginia, and they're turning that program around just like they had the Washington State very, very competitive. And that's a big win for them. Look for them to get better because they're just trying to get those kids to believe they can win. And that's what happened the other night. So I think you're right. The Big 12 is a good one to watch because they are going to beat each other up. And I've left out one Big 12 team that I think's in the hunt there. Can you help me with that? Do you know
let's
who that
see.
might
Who,
be?
who do we think in the Big 12? Iowa State is gaining
Yeah,
ground.
Iowa State's a dark horse to beat some people, not to win, but to upset some people. They're playing very well also. So all of those teams that weren't really going for it last year, they're all top 25 teams, and they can all get into the top 25 if they don't destroy each other. And that's where the RPI will help them. If they all are up there and they're beating up on each other, those losses aren't going to put them down. They're going to increase their odds of getting in the tournament. I look for a lot of teams out of the Big 12 into the tournament.
And you just can't sleep on Colorado. They seem to be the hot team right now. I'll quickly look up their schedule to see who they've got this coming week. But Mick, when it comes to teams that maybe looking down the barrel as Colorado will take on Arizona Wednesday and then Arizona State on Friday. So keep tabs on that. Arizona State with a tough weekend ahead. They'll take on Baylor on Wednesday and then Colorado on Friday. So I'll add that quickly to my notes there. But Mick, Florida, for the first time since, do you know the last time that the Gators were not in the AVCA top 25 poll? Can you give me a guess?
Nope.
I wasn't born. Mary Wise had just signed on as the head coach of the University of Florida. It was her second week at the helm of the Gators, the last time that Florida was outside the top 25 as they are now, 1991, as LSU and Journey Robinson pick up their first ranked win in 3 years with a 30-point performance in the win over Florida and an absolute rout in the fifth set, Mick. It was 8-0 LSU by the time I turned it on in that fifth set.
Nine oh once you got on there. I
Yeah.
mean, nothing Florida could do would work. Every shot over the net ricocheted back to the floor. There were some aces that just and no timeouts. I'm not sure what the message was from the coach to the players, but I think it was you have to start taking a responsibility for yourselves and get out here and band together and fight. And that didn't happen.
Yeah, and in a wild weekend in the SEC, Tennessee, who sits in the top 20 now, they've moved from 20 to 17. Hayden Kubik, Maddie's younger sister, had 27 kills in the 5-set win over LSU. Journey Robinson had almost 70 kills in the 10 sets she played this weekend. Maybe a teaser towards one of our players of the week. She had 33 kills in that loss. If you want to kind of point towards one reason why a team like Florida and maybe Penn State in a similar fashion, you've got kind of one or two stars. Penn State survived Maryland in 5 sets as well. But these are teams, Penn State's at 19. I wouldn't be surprised if they drop out of the top 25 for the first time since the late 80s next week. Where do you think you can go if you're, kind of the direction of these teams?
Well, I think you're right. They can go down or they can decide that this is an opportunity and they can grab this opportunity and people can step up and they can really toughen up as a group and really compete using all the methods of scoring points, serving, blocking, and keeping the ball in play with the attack and not giving points away. That is the way you survive in this kind of environment. And you cannot give points away in this situation. The great teams are going to beat you, but all those other teams that maybe are just a little bit better, you can beat them if you adhere to that. But it's going to be a big effort by all these teams that are just kind of starting to dip right now.
Marquette swept by Creighton. Same story every year, right? Creighton owns the Big East Conference. Meanwhile, Minnesota might have lost another starter, Mick, and just poor Keegan Cook. They have battled through so much adversity. They've lost their libero, their star outside, their star middle, and now Acevedo may have a serious knee injury. So another starter goes down. They lose to Minnesota, excuse me, they lose to Michigan in 4 sets, drop from 10 to 14. And I'm just not really sure what the Big Ten is going to do with the middle of their conference because lucky for them, Indiana's shining. But, obviously, Nebraska head over heels above everyone else right now. And then we could talk about the Charlie Furbringer situation as, Michigan, I mean, geez, Wisconsin obviously, was able to battle through that on Sunday and sweep Michigan. Addie Horner, the freshman, stepped in, Furbringer, arm in a sling. Are you hearing anything? We don't really know much. Kelly Sheffield came out this morning and said that he doesn't know anything, hoping it's weeks instead of months. But even if it's weeks, that's still a situation where, for the time being, who is the second and third best team in the Big Ten?
Well, it seemed like any of those setters can come out and set Mimi Collier, and Wisconsin's okay. So I don't think that they're that destitute as long as Collier's there. She is by far leading, in my opinion, as player of the year because she has done it every night, not just on the big matches. And she's bringing 30 points to that team every night. Amazing with low error, like I said. Yeah, they need Furbringer back as soon as they can get it, but they can get by with the second or third setter setting as long as Collier shows up and plays her game.
All right, well said. In terms of my opinion on the matter, I'm a wait and see. I trust that coaching staff. I think, as you mentioned, any freshman that is going to earn a spot onto Wisconsin's team is probably good enough to work their way into the starting lineup. I just don't know if it means that they can compete at the highest level in that
Not yet.
conference. You know, now that we're seeing USC kind of separate themselves as well, Mick, that brings us into the marquee match on Saturday. And folks, again, we plead you to turn on your TVs when we have these big matches because NBC has their first match of the season Saturday at 3:30 Eastern, UCLA against USC. The Bruins try to work their way back into the top 25. Where are you at with this matchup as USC dropped from 17 to 22, losing to the two Indiana teams?
My opinion on this being in that about 34 times is that it doesn't matter how either team is playing going into this match. It is going to be worth watching because they will go after each other. The crowds will go after each other. It's just one of these things. And UCLA now thinks they have athletics again with the football team winning, so that they're really fired up over there. And SC is really behind their volleyball team, even though they had a disastrous weekend with Purdue and Indiana. This is a big weekend, and this is a good one. Everybody's focused in Los Angeles on this, so it should be a fun one.
So maybe are you saying that UCLA's athletic department might go from 1% to 2% in terms of funding from their entire university? Because that
Might
is
might be, yeah.
so UCLA will take on Minnesota on Wednesday, part of a Big Ten network match, and then that Saturday matchup with USC. But Mick, let's sit back and enjoy Sunday because we've got Nebraska Purdue at 1 o'clock, SMU Miami at 1 o'clock on ACC Network, Kentucky LSU at 1 o'clock on ESPN. A trio of superb matches. Don't tell me and don't ask me why Nebraska Purdue isn't on TV, but hopefully you've got, Big Ten Plus to catch that one. But that's going to be a terrific triple header. And then Pittsburgh and FSU at 3 o'clock, also on ESPN. We cannot overstate how important it is to have these matches even if it's Pitt and FSU, turn on ESPN Sunday at 3, watch a little bit of it just to get the ratings because we, as volleyball fans, have a direct responsibility and connection to help grow this sport, to show the people at ESPN, the people at NBC that the sport continues to grow and needs a little bit more recognition because even though we're at that mountaintop, there's still more to climb. And so I'll kind of wrap that one with that. But Mick, I want to talk about the Player of the Year watch list additions because coming into the season, you have kind of the murderer's row of Babcock and Collier and so many different stars and Jackson and Riley and all of these players, Murray, that were named to the AVCA preseason Player of the Year watch list. And now we've got 17 new names and I'll go through the names quickly, but you got it on the screen. Glover from Arizona State and Kemavor for BYU. Journey Robinson had a huge weekend. You love Stella Swenson for Minnesota. Rebecca Alec works her way in with Sophie Hampton. Purdue gets a pair with Wallard, who we'll talk more about. SMU gets two as well with Onyewu and Livings. Kari Spears, the lone true freshman on the list. And then TCU with Hendricks and Kelly. One non-power four name. Jalen Stout gets some credit there, who now set the record for all-time triple doubles with over 40. What do you think of the list?
I think that's a good list. I think there's probably a libero or two that could be added to that list. They're a little light with liberos. If
I
you
don't think
look,
are there any? I don't know if there
only
are any.
one in
Only one.
the whole listing, and
Wow.
she's really excited because she's the only one. So the odds are pretty good that she'll get a look. But I think we're starting to pick up on the people that develop and get comfortable after the first 4 weeks. I think the coaches could probably add five or six more out there because they're really starting to come on. I've never seen a year where individuals have compiled such high numbers of point scoring each week, not just once or twice in a big match, but each week. This is exciting to see because the responsibility of these point scorers, they're really accepting the responsibility and doing a good job of performing for their teams every night.
And that one libero is Maya Sands, who was on the original list from Missouri. When you look at the real considerations, though, Mick, it does feel Olivia Babcock, Mimi Collier, Bergen Riley. Is there one other name you could put on kind of like the favorites here we sit in the middle of the season?
Well, I think there's some others. Yeah. I couldn't throw out just one or two, but I tell you
Save it for next week. If you want
yeah,
to prepare,
the
we'll
next
come. I threw
five
that at you
weeks,
unprepared. Yeah.
and I throw this out to the players. The next 5 weeks is going to determine who they're going to look at. If you haven't kicked it up, you need to kick it up right now. But if you've kicked it up, keep kicking it up because this is pretty good. And we've got a bunch of names. I mean, you've got people like Tori Stafford leading Texas. You've got other individuals leading their teams. You've got the two left sides of Kentucky that just bomb the ball all the time. They're just name after name after name leading their teams. So you have to watch the teams that win now. You can't just lead your team and lose because there has to be some complementary thing happen like winning the matches. So you want to start watching that the next 4 or 5 weeks also, who's winning these matches and who's performing at the same time.
Well, that carries us right into our six rotations team of the week. And I guarantee you are going to have some familiar names on this list because, Mick, there was an absolute showing from the star talent this past week in college volleyball. I felt bad leaving a player like Mimi Collier out of the list. We had so many people email us and have her on that list. Now, she might be on yours. And remember a reminder, in order to win our giveaway, you have to have the most like selections in the combined list of Mick and I. And so we've got some guesses. We've got a great amount of emails come in. And Mick, why don't we get this thing started? I'm curious because Mick and I don't show each other our lists. So coming into it, I I'm really proud of the depth of outside hitter, and I wanted to give credit to a few of these Sun Belt teams, and I've got them right on the outside looking in, but I had to go to the standouts in the top 25 this week and maybe the top 30. But Kenna Woolard leads the way for me, Mick. She had 33 kills for Purdue in that reverse sweep over UCLA. And the way that the Boilermakers got that done, they saved 4 match points. Woolard had a big kill on match point, the second match point, to put it away for Purdue. She's my first outside hitter of the week. What about you?
Well, she's been a really bright spot for Purdue and really saved the day for Coach Shondell and she doesn't look like she's going to slow down. She keeps bringing it. So that's a good pick by you. I agree with the number of people available, but I did pick Mimi Collier who was just phenomenal this week and carried her team. And so that's my one left side. I have one more that I can go to after we hear yours.
Okay, I went with Journey Robinson because I got to see her in person and what she put together with back-to-back 30 kill matches. I think she had a perfect fifth set against Florida with 6 kills, no errors. She had 72 points in those 2 matches, and we're going to see that name for a while. I think she'll be playing in the Olympics in a couple years.
Well, I had Journey also, and she scored, and the folks need to know this. In the 2 matches this weekend, she scored a total of 70 points. 70 points, folks. That's 3 sets all by herself almost. And that is a tremendous effort. She jumped almost 150 times. That's how many attempts she had. So I think she had a great weekend, and she looked after that match just as fresh as all get out. So she looked like she could go another 5.
Yeah, no doubt about it. When you watch her play, the combination with her and Neil Washington, LSU is going to be a danger come the tournament. I'm gonna go ahead and put a stamp on that. I don't think they're going to do anything too crazy because they don't quite have the back row to match up with the left side talent. But they're going to upset some teams as we saw with Florida. Now to the middle. Hit me with your middles, Mick.
I had to go with Cressy. Cressy from Louisville.
Me too.
Kara Cressy, not because she got kills, because she got important points every time Louisville needed them. She either got a stuff block, she got attacks, she played defense, she served. I mean, she did everything you can ask a middle to do. And then she went to the bench and started slapping hands and kept everybody fired up. So I think Kara Cressy was one of my 2 choices for middle, and I really appreciated her competitiveness this weekend.
13 kills, 8 blocks, hitting 409 in that match Sunday against Stanford. Her leadership as well, Mick. You don't get a lot of that leadership nowadays from the middle. And so it's
Yeah.
really fun to see Cressy kind of lead the way for Louisville. I've got another top 5 middle on a team, and that's for Pitt, and that's Bear Blalis with 16 kills, 5 blocks, hitting over 400 against Georgia Tech. I'm excited to see Bayless match up against really high level ACC foes, and Miami will be a good first test for her this week. But Georgia Tech, they took a set, just not a Georgia Tech team we're used to seeing in these last 2 years.
No, but they showed great improvement. I think they're all on the same page, and they're now ready to compete. So that's a team to watch for the down the road, the Georgia Tech people. But yeah, so my second middle is again Andrews from Stanford. I just thought she did everything she could do. 12 kills out of 16 swings, only 1 error. This is about the third week in a row that she's got 13 to 16 swings and has been almost errorless, and 2/3 of her swings are kills. If Stanford could get her the ball more, I would dial that one in, I'll tell you. And it's interesting where they play her, whether they play her away from the setter or next to the setter, because Sayer, the other middle, is also playing extremely well for Stanford. But Andrews has been scoring at an elite rate and not giving any points away and doing a good job blocking. I believe she's about 6'5", 6'6" there in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah, she was on my kind of honorable mention there. And so we moved from the middles to the right side. Did you go Babcock again or did you shake it up?
I shook it up.
Oh, me too.
I'll tell you who's hot, in my opinion. Becca Kelly for TCU, and she is not only scoring from the left and the right, she is on the bench leading. She is verbal. She has just got that whole TCU team up and going. Sister is the middle blocker for Pitt.
Bree.
and
Yep.
yeah, Bree Kelly, and that family has got a lot of problems trying to watch both those kids at the same time.
You know what? It's funny because when the AVCA gave me the list of the new additions and I recorded the segment to post on social media to reveal on Friday, Becca Kelly was the one that didn't quite have that huge match this season. And coming into this past weekend, Becca Kelly's season high was only 15 kills. And then she goes out and has 21 kills, hits 333 against Kansas, and then hits 688 with one error against Texas Tech. So I stamped that decision. But Mick, I went way out west, way off the beaten path. I had to give a little credit to a non Power Four team for my opposite, and that's Fresno State. Okay, there is a senior out of Arizona named Addison Haluska who had 25 kills, zero errors against San Jose State on 41 swings. And then she had 17 kills and hit 394 against Boise State. So I wanted to give Addison Haluska a little bit of love, but impossible not to credit Olivia Babcock, who was hit averaging over 6 points per set, continuing to carry the Panthers right into my setter spot. And I'm going back to the well here. I think it's the second time I've chose her out of Louisville. Dump for the win to Nayelis Cabello, who had the team hit 304 against Stanford. She had 5 kills and 4 blocks and is my setter of the week.
I'm going with Jalen Stout from Coastal Carolina, 41 triple doubles, 41. Think about that. Amazing. She
Yeah,
gets my love, and that's the Sun Belt Conference.
it is. That is the Sun Belt. I've got a little bit of Sun Belt love coming in my honorable mentions, but let's wrap it up. Who's your libero of the week?
Oh, this one is going to surprise you a lot. Victoria Harris from South Carolina put on a show like you've never seen against Texas A&M. 22 digs, flying into the stands, flying over things. I've never seen an aerial pursuit of balls like this young lady put on in this match and got my attention. I was just checking in on A&M to see how they were doing, and I watched because of her playing for South Carolina. So Victoria Harris, Libero of the Week on my sheet.
I like it, Mick. Mick, you are not going to guess mine. Coming out of nowhere, Jimena Cordero Barr for UC Davis had 35 digs against UC Irvine, and the Aggies of UC Davis are undefeated to start Big West play at 4-0, a team that has come out of nowhere. And I want to give a little bit of love there. And funny enough, crazily, we had an emailer named Ed come on in, and he got Journey Robinson, Kenna Woolard, Addison Haluska, Carrie Cressy, Nayelis Cabello, and Cordero Barr taking the cake for the most matchups correct. So
Wow.
congratulations to Eddie out of Arizona, same area as Haluska. I wonder if there is any relation there. Who knows?
Oh, there
But
you go.
a huge honor there. You have any honorable mentions for the week? I've got a trio.
No, I didn't do honorable mentions. We ran close to over last week, so I didn't pull any of those guys in.
All right. Shaylee Myers for Kansas State had 34 kills on Wednesday with 5 aces for almost 40 points in the win over West Virginia. She hit 453 as K-State, as you mentioned, a little bit of an underdog in the Big Ten, shaking some heads. And how about JMU? You know this one. Kennedy Lucelle, 37 kills,
Yeah.
3 aces, 3 blocks, a school record almost 40 kills for JMU in the reverse sweep over Georgia State. And then Southern Miss, Sadie McCata had 21 kills, 22 digs in the win over Arkansas State. And a hat tip to our good friend Lee Feinswag, who kind of digs out some of these unknown players for us in the 900 square feet email list or square foot email list.
Now, square feet, you got it right with the feet. There's two of them.
Okay, yeah. A great show as always, Mick. We got a little loopy in this one, so hope the fans stuck with us on it. So always a fun time to cut it up. All right, give me one of these matches. Which do you think on Sunday will be the most exciting between Nebraska, Purdue, SMU, Miami, and Kentucky, Louisiana State?
Probably SMU Miami.
I think Kentucky LSU is going the distance. We're going to see another Journey Robinson special, but don't be surprised if Purdue puts a scare into Nebraska, at least as you mentioned, in a set or two in Holloway, a place that Nebraska has some losses in the last decade or so. But here we sit, another week in the books. NBC Saturday at 3:30. We got to see some love shown by the volleyball community. Emily Eman had a hilarious tweet posted today, Mick, that was calling out Nebraska fans, saying, "Is this the best team ever that fans are saying is underestimated?" Who is underestimating Nebraska? They're number one. They have 58 of the 61 votes in the coaches poll. You might be the only person in all of volleyball media to be underestimating Nebraska. But even still, I think we give them our credit, and we thank you again for joining us. He's Mick, I'm Daniel, and this is Six Rotations.